All right, everybody, welcome to Inside the Numbers with the People's Pundit. I am your host, Rich Barris, the People's Pundit. And don't forget to like the videos if you like them and share them far and wide. The links to the Public Polling Project and everywhere else are below, so go check them out. Of course, we're everywhere on X, on Getter, on Rumble, everywhere. But the best place to follow us is right here. peoplespundit.locals.com, peoplespundit.locals.com. Okay, this is, if anything was going to stop or put a pause to the infighting on the right, supposedly, that's going on right now, it is what was released by Tucker Carlson teased yesterday. And I think that's that's an important part of the story, which look, there's never any coincidences in American politics, period. In politics, period. Just there are not. All right. I mean, you can think there are if you want to be naive, but they're not. All right. First and foremost, I'm not going to play the whole thing. If you have not seen it, you should. I'm sure most of you watching right now have probably seen it in its entirety. It is rough, a little over a half an hour long. And this is interesting, guys. With all the attacks on Tucker, all right, I noticed somebody who quote tweeted a certain X account immediately after it just randomly appeared out of nowhere. And that was a certain congressman named Randy Fine, who has been attacking Tucker relentlessly. The truth is, the FBI knew that that Tucker was at least on this story since at least September. All right, so I'm not going to play the whole thing, but I am going to play the sum up part of what he after, I believe there's 3 sections or 3, I would say, blocks of how he presents it. Act 1, Act 2, Act 3. I'm going to play one of the wrap-ups here, and we'll go over a little bit about what I'm saying. The FBI, they lied, period. All right, there's, at the very least, they made, and I hate saying the names of assassins and shooters, but it's going to be said a million times in the video anyway. It's impossible to talk about this without saying his name. The FBI under Biden and then even under Trump made it out with what little information that we ever got about Thomas Crooks, who is the would-be assassin in Butler, Pennsylvania, which was a situation that, if you were following me at the time, Sean Parnell, who's now at the Defense Department, a good friend of mine, we talked about this a lot on both of our shows. For people like us who know these things, it's unfathomable to us that the president was put into danger the way that he was that day in Pennsylvania. I don't want to say no chance. Like, it's ridiculous. It's absurd that the one single building with a direct line of sight to the president at 130 yards would not be not only covered, but even occupied by security detail to keep the president safe. All right. There were members of local law enforcement there that day. There was Trump's Secret Service detail there that day. And there were Department of Homeland Security agents there that day. And yet, this seemingly pathetic excuse of a man with absolutely no achievements and no training, a serious professional training, managed to somehow slip by after casing the joint with his rifle, managed to slip by, get up on the roof, and take a shot, at least more than a shot, at the president. Of course, it resulted in the death of a firefighter who jumped onto his family, his wife and daughter. And I know people who know him. I was told by all accounts, he's a wonderful man. And when Trump was elected, without a doubt, his supporters, at the very least, believed that they would get more answers to the question of who was Thomas Crooks. How did this happen? Did anybody put him up to it? I'm going to tell you right now, guys, with what goes on here, the FBI's behavior, and we're not going to go through them all. You need to go watch this. The social media posts, and then the dramatic change in political views. This all reeks of what is called nudging. All right. This all reeks of an intel job, whether it's domestic or foreign. I don't know. But so this kid, you have to be an idiot not to see that this kid was turned. All right. He will start out because this is not going to be in there, the recap, but he will start out espousing, which is what the deputy FBI director under Joe Biden claimed, that he was a right-winger who espoused anti-Semitic views and anti-immigrant views. Right. Years before he took a shot at Donald Trump. And then something dramatic happened during COVID, and he was clearly turned, and he became a vehement, never anti-Trumper, all on social media. Tucker obviously let them know in September that he had this information. Could you verify it's true? They asked the dumbest question in return, which is, what, do you know whether it's true? Guys, come on. Not only did they lie about the shooter's political views, they intentionally lied about them. Like they didn't just get through a few comments on a social media post, guys, and decide, not to go any further. They went through it, and they went through it with a fine-tooth comb, and they decided to mislead the American public and make it out like he was a right-winger. Anyway, let's play a little bit of this clip first, and then we get into it. Because I hate to say this, but Barnes, you were right again. And it sucks when you know some of these people. But, Barnes has been very critical of Dan Bongino and Kash Patel. I remember Cernovich saying, it's in the eyes. It's in the eyes, bro. So they did something to him. They showed him something. He's a broken man. Look at him. He's a broken man. And you laugh, and you're like, oh, come on, man. I don't know. I don't think I'm laughing anymore. This isn't funny. Kash Patel has now lied on multiple occasions, including to Maria Bartiromo, and with Dan sitting right next to him, about what we will learn more, and will we be surprised? Is there some kind of, foreign connection or whatever? If there's no foreign connection, then what is it? You're covering for your own asses? He's got foreign email accounts connected to his Gmail, which is how Tucker, I'm not going to get through the methods of how people do it. Everyone believe me, everyone at the FBI understands exactly how the person who gave this to Tucker got this information. This is like textbook. You get a hold of an email and all of the other accounts that are associated to that email. You have Discord, which after the survey research we did makes me very nervous. But then there are other accounts, other emails. One in Germany. But it's a German address. Another one, Amsterdam. This smells like shit. And I don't want to speculate here, guys, but if it's not foreign, then what is it? NATO? Because who controls NATO? Like, this is bad. And Kash, you're a liar. You were lying. Everyone at the time, like Barnes, I was telling him to go easy on you guys, but you're liars. I don't give a shit. You go in front of the camera and talk about your personal friendship with the president. You lied. There's no trial. What trial? What are you talking about? He's dead. You burned him with the very abnormal speed that you did. You released him for cremation. He was done within days. There is no trial. Let's just play some of the clip. This is, honestly, guys, this is stunning even to me. And I'm somebody who has advocated for a long time. The FBI is not reformable. You cannot put Kash Patel as the head of the FBI and Dan Bongino as his, right-wing butt buddy, right-hand butt buddy. Like, it's a blob. It's an immense corrupt creature. And two guys, even if they were still kosher, cannot do it. Two temporary positions that will be cycled out and the blob will outlast them long after they're gone. It's absurd to even think that. The FBI cannot be reformed. It's got to go. But as somebody who believes that, I'm even stunned by this. What exactly does the FBI do if for years there is a young, this guy was the textbook shooter case. He screams of loser young white dude who's espousing political violence all over the internet. What exactly does the FBI do instead of spying on people like me that they shouldn't be spying on? What exactly is it? What function do they serve anymore? This is astounding. And Republicans are absolutely useless. Because they're all caught. There's a file on all of them. Lindsey Graham drinks every day, all day. Could you imagine with his 6-term career, how much shit and how big that file is on Lindsey Graham? You expect the Senate to conduct oversight of these people? The whole damn system, the whole model is just broken. Congress is now their co-conspirators. They're not their overseers. They're not doing their job. They're conspiring with these people. And the only time you'll ever see any of them, including Lady Lindsay, get upset is when they decided to spy on him. And the FBI is not alone in this. Don't get me wrong. I mean, CIA broke into Dianne Feinstein's office. She's studying enhanced interrogation abuses. They kicked the they didn't kick the door in. They picked a lock. They get in. They steal a bunch of material that nobody except for the senator, members of her team, and whatever legislative staffers they have working with the clearance were ever even supposed to be in that room. This whole thing is just out of control. The intel state is totally out of control. And Republicans should have vaporized it while they had the chance after Ruby Ridge and Waco. And they did what they always do, which is cave like a bunch of pussies. And now all these years later, here we are, and it's way worse. Way worse. That little piece of shit intentionally went out there and told the country that he was right-wing, knowing damn well that there were way more left-wing tweets on there than not. And a young man does not change his positions like that within a short amount of time without being radicalized or without being turned. It's a major red flag. All right, let's put it up here. Let's go right from Twitter. All right, let's listen. He'll recap.
The stonewalling, the lying, the persistent unwillingness to explain anything, all of it makes you wonder, what are they hiding? If the leadership of the FBI and the DOJ had any desire whatsoever to prove to the public that there's in fact nothing there, they could do that. But first they would have to answer these questions. Was Thomas Crooks known to federal law enforcement before the shooting? Was he known to local law enforcement before the shooting? And if not, why not?
Right.
Who is Willie Tepes, and was he known to federal law enforcement? Is Willie Tepes linked to any violent organizations? Is he linked to any governments? And if so, then around the time of the shooting, did the FBI have assets inside those organizations?
NRM, let's go back real quick, because I think that's important so you know who that is. NRM is the largest neo-Nazi group in Sweden with branches in Norway, Denmark, Iceland, and also Finland, where it has been banned since 2020. And by the way, this is like some weird Tifa adjacent group.
If Crooks wasn't known to anyone in authority before the shooting, how was he able to post hundreds of violent extremist comments under his real name between 2019 and 2020 without being detected by law enforcement or intel agencies at a time we know they were monitoring social media? Mm-hmm. Were those comments, including specific assassination threats against specific public officials, ever reported to YouTube?
Okay. Let me just say, too, he's showing you right now the comments when, where they're getting this idea that he was this right-winger. He goes radical left hard around COVID. Folks, YouTube was monitoring and allowing the federal government to monitor everything during that time period. We have done shows about it. I got caught up in it. This is crazy, this idea that somehow they would not have seen this. No way, no chance. The kid is a mark. Prove me wrong. They mark the kid, they turn the kid, and then they let him loose. They let him crawl up on the roof, and they let him take the shot. That's how Malcolm X was killed, guys. I hate to break it down. You're sitting all there hyperventilating over the fact your government can do something so evil and so heinous. They do it all the time. They've done it in the past. They couldn't contain Malcolm either, so they just nudged members of the nation in Newark to kill him. And then to cover their tracks, they let the shotgun trigger man roll around for the rest of his life. This is more likely at this point, given their past behavior. This is more likely than anything else. So this wholly unremarkable right-winger turned left-winger just so happens to get up on the building, with a direct line of sight. Guys, when they're protecting presidents, they wield manhole covers shut for the day. I've seen them pull the stairs up on fire escapes, on blocks, whole blocks. It's a load of shit. It's bullshit. This is bullshit. I don't know how, I don't know if the president, is aware of this stuff. I just don't know. His sons, I don't know how, you're not outraged and all over social media right now unless you all know something that we don't. But here's a little secret. Here's the thing. If this is, or this is it's not a secret and shouldn't be a secret. If this is so bad that you're worried about the American public knowing, you got to cut this shit out. Same thing with whatever may be in certain Epstein files. Thank God, if we have time, I'll show you what Trump posted. That's the way to go. That's the way to handle it. But you got to stop this crap. Like, oh, it's so bad. The Republic, the people, the Republic wouldn't be able to stand it. That's what you were elected to do. Find every single vermin-like action that shatters the faith of the oligarchy, of the bureaucracy, whatever little bit is left in the American public. You were elected to find these things and to expose them and just break it all. This cannot be reformed. Your representatives will never conduct oversight over these people. This is disgustingly dangerous. We have now a permanent government that is so powerful, it just rides out whenever you elect one Congress, one president. It just rides it out. It waits you out, and it gets stronger and stronger and more corrupt and more dangerous every year. This thing cannot be fixed. Cannot be fixed. You know what, Cash? If you want to go down as a hero, you could pull a cruise chef and Troika on their ass and break it up from the inside. Bureaucracy is actually not that hard to destroy if you really want it, if you have the will to do it. You want to be remembered as a hero and a patriot? Start there, because this is bullshit, man. Not like anybody believed it anyway. Let's let Tucker finish the rest of his saying.
Other users complained about them. Did YouTube know? Why is the FBI telling us that they'll release this information, quote, after the trial, when there is no trial? Why did an FBI agent from the Technical Hazards Response Unit hose down the crime scene the day after the attack? That seems very strange.
It is, because they don't do that shit. As he says in earlier part of the clip, which is true, the FBI will often just contract out scene cleanup. They don't even do it themselves. That guy is from a task force that deals with when a scene has like truly hazardous shit in it, guys. And they can't just go out and get some private contractor to do it. They have to do it themselves. This is more than unusual. And you might be tempted to say, well, Rich, it was because it was an assassination attempt against the president. Protocol is protocol.
What happened on the roof of the American Glass Research Building for the 10 seconds after Crooks' last shot until he was killed by the Secret Service? Does the FBI have surveillance footage of Thomas Crooks shooting?
And they had to kill Thomas Crooks? Let's just stop for a second there. This is another thing that always smelled like shit to Sean and I. And maybe I'll get Sean on the show now that this is over. I don't know how much I'd have to clear it with this. They started a new press office over there. I'm on it. I just haven't gone through it yet. I don't know if this is something we'd have to clear with him or not. But if you remember, this is always something that smelled like shit to us to begin with. They could have used non-lethal force against Thomas Crooks and gotten that weapon away. Like if somebody tries to kill a president, and you can take them alive, of course you want to take them alive. There were all sorts of crazy conspiracies. And by the way, we were only told one of them, which was that Iran tried to kill Donald Trump. Maybe it was Iran. Maybe it was. I just find it suspiciously convenient that when you're trying to justify regime change, which you back down on, thank God, when you're trying to justify regime change against Iran, we get recycled the new bullshit lie. The same thing with Saddam Hussein that we got in the Iraq War. Oh, he tried to kill President Bush. He's got a hit out on President Bush. The same story regurgitated over and over to justify the government doing what they do when you don't want them to do it, or when you've wised up to it. How is it we heard nothing about that until they wanted to convince you to use military force in Iran on behalf of Israel, by the way? Not because you were in imminent danger. You were not. Not because even if Iran was days away from getting the bomb, they even had a way to deliver it. They didn't. That was something that was put forward in one of these very desperate attempts to beat the war drums and to convince you to support something you didn't support. It's just a little coincidental to me, folks. A little coincidental.
That day, was the FBI present at the medical examiner's autopsy? Are there still blood samples? Can they be examined by outside authorities?
You would know some of the answers to this, and he's not going to go. Maybe he is going over it. We would, but I'm just going to say it. We would know some of the basic, the answers to some of these basic questions he's asking if the FBI hasn't now ignored 2 congressional subpoenas, including from Senator Johnson in Wisconsin. Not 1, but 2. He issued 1, they ignored it. So he issued another one saying, you have ignored a congressional subpoena. This is what I want from you. And they still haven't given anything. And when Cash was asked under oath again by what's his name was running in Texas, Wesley Hunt, he was given a BS answer and used the same. He gave a BS answer and used the same excuse about a trial that's going on. That's not going on. There is no trial. Guys, this smells like shit.
Congress demanded the autopsy. Did the FBI restrict what the examiner could tell the Congress? When the FBI cleared the coroner to release Crooks's body for cremation, did they keep tissue samples, brain tissue samples, spinal cord samples, or spinal fluid samples? Law enforcement sources told us that in a typical investigation in a crime of this nature, it would be normal to preserve all of that, those samples. If the FBI didn't, why not?
We have the brain still of Charles, what's his name, who shot Jim Garfield. And by the way, who told me that? Was it you, Dave? You told me to watch Death by Lightning? That was fantastic. That was good. For people who don't know, Death by Lightning on Netflix is good. It's about the rise of the it's not really true that it was an unwitting rise or a reluctant rise of James Garfield. He did have aspirations, which he gave up later in life. But anyway, he was killed by, I'm going to butcher the last name. It's a French last name. And Charles, come on, locals. What is it? You guys are smart. You know. You still have his brain preserved. Yeah, I mean, this is just crazy ridiculous that there's no basic stuff. There's no basic answers for these questions, not even half answers. They just ignored the subpoenas. They just don't give a shit. They don't care. They don't care. You want answers? Tough. You thought you were going to get answers because it was the Trump administration and Big Bad Cash Patel and podcaster Dan Bongino who by the way, himself had all of these crazy, I don't want to say crazy, had all of these theories about how it didn't make any sense as a former Secret Service agent himself, because of course it didn't. Now the guy looks like, I don't know, like they opened the door and took him in the room in Area 51 or something, and he's like one of those like small dogs that shake all the time. That's what Dan Bongino looks like to me. And Cash with those eyes, like he's constantly looking over his shoulder or something. It's driving me crazy. It's bullshit, guys. It's bullshit.
And who made that decision to destroy what could be critical evidence in an attempted murder case? FBI agents went to the same gun range that Thomas Crooks was using. Who were those agents, and did any of them at any time have any contact with Thomas Crooks? Who did he train with exactly, and why can't we know? Was Thomas Crooks taking drugs that might have turned up on the toxicology report, but that weren't listed somehow? On what date specifically did FBI agents stop investigating Thomas Crooks's online presence? Why did the former deputy director of the FBI, Paul Abate, suggest to Congress that Crooks was a right-winger when he clearly wasn't? Was the FBI aware of Crooks's public comments before the shooting, many of which are openly violent, that included specific assassination attempts involving public officials? Who was Thomas Crooks in communication with in the days before the attack? What does his burner phone show? And in fact, why did he have a burner phone and encrypted foreign email accounts? Who are the government officials trying to link Iran to the shooting? Why did the FBI suggest that he had no digital footprint in the first place when the FBI had a great deal of evidence, hundreds and hundreds of comments from his digital activity? And what's on the other dozen accounts that the FBI clearly had access to? How long had Thomas Crooks been planning to commit an assassination? If there's nothing there, if they tell you this is just a lone nut who gave no indication he might do this, then what is stopping the FBI from at least giving the facts to Congress? Because if there's nothing there, these should be very easy questions to answer.
Okay, bottom line, that's good enough for me. This is what I'm saying. This agency, this bureau, is the same bureau filled with people like Jim Comey, Peter Strzok, Lisa Page, who felt it was not only their right to essentially intel state veto your decision to elect President Trump one time. This place, all right, is it really a leap for us to suspect that there are other, even worse, much worse actors who found a stupid kid who was violent and looked like he was textbook, fit the bill, fit the profile as an assassin, fit the profile as a mass shooter? Because, by the way, that's what he was looking up on his Google search. Is it really so hard for us to suspect that this bureau is capable of finding a young, impressionable, violent kid, young man like this and turning him and then letting him loose onto what everyone knew at the time, despite the fake polls, would be a former, soon to be 45th, former 45th, soon to be again 47th president of the United States. Folks, this is the same bureau who came to help the ATF at Waco and murdered 20 children. Lied to Janet Reno about the threat, lied to Janet Reno about the risk with them using that plan and using CS gas, even though the last 3 times they used CS gas in an assault like that, there was a fire. It is their reputation and their actions have been so bad and their people have been so corrupt. It's actually incumbent on them to put out the evidence to convince us that they didn't try to kill Donald Trump, because this is their MO. This smells just like them. This is what they do. They found some impressionable, angry people in the Newark Mosque in the Nation of Islam, and they did this very thing to them. And they nudged them. Even though there was an order out by Elijah Muhammad himself not to touch Malcolm X. He still ended up dead. Because the FBI did it. They nudged them to kill him, so they can keep their hands as clean as they can keep it. So you're telling me there are these delusional, grand delusional people at the FBI. Jim Comey thinks he was sent from God. I'm not kidding. Jim Comey's one of the most delusional, but he feels that he is a central figure in history and that it's like God is going to use him and his supreme morality to save the republic. This is how anyone who knows Jim Comey will tell you he is that delusional. He really has delusions of grandeur. And then you add 2 others who were boning each other, by the way, having an extramarital affair. Don't worry, honey, I'll stop him. And you expect us to believe they're not capable of this? I don't. They're now my number one suspect. Are you kidding me? They know a lot more about the phenomena of mass shootings and assassinations than average people do. And to pretend like they didn't know about those comments is just, it's asinine. And at the very least, they understood what they were leaving out in society. And they just didn't give a shit. Or worse, they played an active role in it. Convince me. Convince me I'm wrong. It's the only way any of this makes sense. It's the only way. I hate to say it, but it's the only way in my mind, which lives in the real world, that any of this makes sense. Guys, I mean, let me see if I can find something. It's a credit card. I don't want to show my information, but let me see if I can get some, like a business card. If I back to back, yeah, here we go. There's like a fuel market card. See how thin this is? 2 of these, yeah, about 2, 3 of these together, max 3. That's the only difference between us being here now and Donald Trump's brains being splattered all over the fucking stage in Butler, Pennsylvania. I'm sorry. I have absolutely... They don't get the benefit of the doubt with me. And not only were they lying about what they knew, not only are they ignoring congressional subpoenas, think about what they did. They actually told the country what something that they knew was a lie about his motivations. They intentionally misled you about his political views. Why? Why would they do that? Even if it isn't as dark as I think it is. At the very least, knowing the political climate that we're in, knowing, as we were talking about with the political violence survey, that the relationship, there's a direct relationship, how much you feel you're in danger by the other and your likelihood of being violent and justifying that violence. They know this. They know this. And yet they turned up the temperature and told with a lie anyway. They're criminals. They're criminals. That alone, they're criminals. I don't give a shit if they have a badge or not. This is horrible. This bureau has to be dismantled. The ATF has to be dismantled. We don't need this shit. They haven't stopped any terrorist attacks. You understand the vast powers that we gave to these people after 9/11? They didn't do anything with them except for abuse them. Good job, George Bush and Con Inc., by the way. Great job. Sucker. I'm like ashamed of myself for ever believing a single word any of those idiots said after 9/11. But it was a different time. Country was scared. Speaking of useless losers, since it's 2:35, let's pivot so I can get to your questions here. I don't know, guys. You draw your own conclusions. I'm at this point, I'm just going to end it with this. This is absolutely a bombshell. Oh, and that's right. I forgot. Holy crap. How could I even forget to show you this? Of course. Don't you find it funny? And there it is. Don't you find it remotely funny that this was created just days ago? Did the FBI literally create a rapid response account on X to try to push back on the report that Tucker released? Let's go and look at their brief history real quick and forget about who's quote tweeting them. All the wrong people. 23 hours ago, folks. 23 hours ago. Come on. And what are the two things that they're concerned about right now? The Epstein files and the Trump assassination. Those are the two reports they're rapidly responding to. Under Director Patel, Deputy Director Bongino, and Co-Deputy Bailey, your FBI is in a new era. Is it though? Is it? Looks like the same old shit to me. One where we communicate more than any FBI ever before and more directly with the American people about the important work we're doing. But that's only a piece of what we're doing. They communicate? Are you kidding me? Can you communicate with Ron Johnson and answer his subpoena so we can get some answers? I'm sorry, I'm so livid. I'm glad I wasn't even on camera there. I think my eyeball started to come out of my head. After that is Thomas Massey, who says, I received this troubling letter today from the attorney representing the most recent FBI whistleblower regarding the J6 pipe bomb investigation. Just a reminder to Director Cash, in this letter, in case this letter is warranted, federal law prevents retaliation against whistleblowers. And then they quote tweeted, when Patel and I entered on duty at Stan Bongino, where he puts his own call logs out there. I called you, outgoing call, 10 minutes. Right? So look, I think Thomas Massey is a grandstander. I've always thought that. I don't buy this principle shit. I don't. Do I think he's earnestly like a libertarian, like he's sincere? Yeah, I guess. Whatever. But I also think he's just a grandstander. He's a very nice guy. I hear, as I understand it, I was talking to a certain somebody about him yesterday. I'm not going to, use your imagination. And he was always just concerned about him being like a man alone. You can't be in DC if you have no friends, kind of thing. But I don't know. I was like, I kind of think he's a grandstander, bro. And he's like, well, of course he's grand. All members of Congress are grandstanders. And I'm like, nah, it's a little bit worse. But still, their response is they're okay. Let's just put it. Maybe they went on and talked about other things. Okay. And here's Tucker. 22 hours later. And by the way, look, they retweeted that. This little exchange with Bongino and Massey actually occurred before their account was created. So they created the account, tweeted this, then went and quote tweeted Dan Bongino before moving on to Tucker. 22 hours ago said, the FBI told us Thomas Crooks tried to kill Donald Trump last summer, but somehow had no online footprint. The FBI lied, and we can prove it because we have his posts. The question is, why? Story tomorrow. And then they said, we didn't say that. We never said that they had no online footprint ever. He plays in the video. He plays a clip of the former deputy director of the FBI being questioned by Congress. And what Tucker meant by that, and he should have just been, we're in an era now where you have to say things so literal. Otherwise, people will twist them. They made it out like they think they might have found a few posts from a YouTube account that may or may not be associated with Thomas Crooks and left it at that. That's it. And of course, at the time, people were asking a lot of questions. What about his Facebook? Have you found a Facebook? Did you go through it? Are there any weird online transactions to like a Venmo account or a PayPal account, of which we now know he has both? Are there any weird messages from anyone, any other actor, domestic or otherwise, in like a Discord? They didn't tell us any of that. They acted like it was just a few little posts on a YouTube page, and they're not even sure it's his YouTube page anyway. So their denial, their strong denial, their own, is that the FBI has never said Thomas Crooks had no online footprint, ever. Come on, guys. If you go and look, Tucker's going to play it in the clip. That's what we all know because that's the only thing we've ever been thrown. And it's still a half lie anyway, because they knew absolutely, they were certain at the time that that was his YouTube account. Guys, it took them apparently 15 to 20 minutes, 15 to 4, I don't know, very quick. They were able to hack into his phone using technology, by the way, from an Israeli company, which is weird. We don't have our own technology. The FBI doesn't have their own tech to get into a friggin' iPhone. Come on, man. But once you're in the iPhone, is my point, you know it's theirs. You click on the YouTube icon. You click on the Gmail icon. They knew what accounts he had. Once they were able to get into that Gmail, they were able to go through and open that phone, go to settings. You got an iPhone? Go to settings. Go scroll down. Go look at apps. You're getting a ton of data from it. Super easy to confirm whether or not someone's account is truly theirs once you have their phone. This is ridiculous. They just want you to, they just want you to be stupid. They're just hoping you're stupid. And then they tweeted about the fentanyl crisis an hour later because they were getting owned by X. And it's about the pipe bomb again. Moving up. There you go. There's something. That's a retweet of Cash Patel. Of course, he's just trying to get out there that, hey, by the way, we busted up a gang in North Texas. Pretty violent one. I mean, of course. And Miranda Devine. This is pathetic. All right. And it is pathetic. It's a joke. I mean, it's a joke. And in response to Miranda Devine, for people who don't know who she is, I mean, Miranda, I know Miranda. She's very professional, very thorough, honest reporter at the New York Post. And I guess at Fox now, too. When I met her, she worked for the New York Post. I've interviewed with her before for our other work. And this is what they do in response. Let me tell you something. Let me ask you something. Do you think because Cash Patel is, the head of the FBI, and Dan is sitting over there like his little butt buddy on the right, his little extra mini-me helper, do you think they're running this account attacking what are believed to be, I don't want to call Miranda right-wing, but you know what I'm saying, not a fanatic left-wing journalist? Does that strike you as an overly reformed conservative FBI? Get out of here, guys. This is a scam. This is a horrible, horrible scam. And it's an insult. It's an insult because I'm telling you right now that I am 100% thinking that they found this kid's statements on social media, and this FBI, as crooked as they are, because they are, found him, marked him, turned him, nudged him. And that's how Butler, and that's how the events in Butler were carried out. You could prove me wrong. I hope so. Go ahead, do it. Be more transparent. Prove me wrong. Until then, I think you tried to kill Donald Trump. I'm saying it out loud. I think the FBI tried to kill Donald Trump, and I think they used a stupid little bastard who's lost to do it because that's their MO. Prove me wrong. Show me the Iranian connection. Lone wolf my ass. Obviously not. And I found it funny, the name of that user. It's like, oh, I don't know. Maybe it's common. But is that some weird reference to like Vlad the Impaler or something? I don't know. Like I've never heard that name that often. Thought about it. I thought about Tepes. Like, whatever. And who is that guy? Of course the FBI would chase that down. Of course they would. Who is that guy? This is crazy. I'm going to call Ron Johnson after the show. I'm going to call Ron Johnson later. Senator, I'm curious what you think about this video. I'm calling him. I am. I'm going to ask him. 2:46. If we don't move on, I won't have time to do your questions. let's move on. I mean, I'm just saying it out loud. I don't know if everybody else is too afraid to say it, but I am not. I'm going to say it out loud. Out at this moment, I strongly suspect that the FBI had a role in nudging this kid to take a shot at Donald Trump. That's what I think. They marked him. He was an easy mark, especially during COVID. Super easy. All right. Mike Johnson's on Maria Bartiromo. And she's talking about the prospects for Republicans, the midterms, the agenda, all of it. And I want to play something. Obviously, some of it is him gaslighting people. However, I will tell you what I am hearing. All right. And I should have enough time. Sure. All right, let's watch this. We'll be back.
Look, we're going to be dialing in on it. Obviously, as we get closer to the midterms, I'm very bullish. I'm absolutely convinced.
Let's go back. You didn't hear that, did you?
Yes, look, we're going to be dialing in on it. Obviously, as we get closer to the midterms, I'm very bullish. I'm absolutely convinced that we're going to grow the House majority and keep the majority in the Senate, the House, and allow President Trump 4 years and not just 2, because if we lose the majority, they'll try to impeach him and stop everything. But we got to articulate that. The thing is, Maria, we've had so many successes, so many categories of things that we've achieved that there's been a lot to talk about. We need to narrow in, focus in more. It's a great point on affordability. That's a big thing for people, and we've been working on it every day. And by the way, the Working Families Tax Cut, the big beautiful bill that we got signed into law July 4th, the reason we did it so early in the Congress is because we knew all the major provisions of that become effective after January, and people will feel those positive effects. Wages will be rising. You'll have more job opportunity. You're going to have more investment, more jobs. All those things will happen, and people will feel it before they vote in the fall. So we're anxious for all that to take place.
Yeah, good luck with that. I mean, I've heard that before. I've heard this. I've heard these, like, high expectations, or I wouldn't even say high expectations, a lot riding on kind of like what Reagan dealt with, where the economy took about 2 years before it started to really get on its feet. Even with Trump's first term, when they did, honestly, a lot more economic things, it still took until 2018 before there was any real positive development. Guys, everything was hitting a record high. Consumer sentiment, the confidence bureau, it all was hitting a record high. Hey, gorgeous, there she is. I texted her before. I said, no, come and hang out, say hello. Now you're busy bee. Where was I? She always distracts me. Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, it was all hitting. There were record highs. Job creation was good. GDP was 3% back to back. I mean, they still got shellacked, guys. They still, I mean, I know he has to say, he can't go out there and say, I think we're going to get thumped. But I did find this interview funny because I am hearing, and this is part of like, a million people calling saying, what do we do now? What do we do now? They are seriously, there's a number of them who are trying to convince me that they're going to actually legislate next year, that they are not going to disappear and go campaign. Yep. So, so either come in or don't go hang out on the side. I don't think that's going to happen. I will let you know if I feel like there's enough of them that it's a possibility. All right. Because, of course, of what I had said before, it's like any hard turns Trump makes anyway doesn't necessarily benefit Republicans because they showed their priorities, and their priority was not the American people. So, it is what it is. Yeah, let's get to some of the questions here because I'm looking at it too. 250. Guys, I got like a lot of polling and a lot of focus groups. A lot of polling and there's only so much time in a day. EF 4868, fire Patel and Bondi for obstruction of justice. I mean, at this point, I'm telling you, I think the FBI did this. I do. I don't know if there's more to the story here, but it could be as simple as a bunch of rogue FBI agents like Peter Strzok and Lisa Page on steroids found this kid. They monitor, of course, they were looking at everybody's social media back then, guys. They were looking at ours. We were constantly getting strikes and bans and threats and this and that. I think it's very plausible in my mind that they could have found this kid, turned him, marked him, and sent him on his way, because that's how they do these things. They don't hire, like, it's not like the movies, guys. It's not like Hitman, like I am 4 with my name, with this freaking barcode on the back of his head, and he's like, I never miss. All right, that shit is for the movies. This is the very real and ugly and sloppy way that they affect political change. I mean, they basically commit acts of terrorism. That's what they're doing. Well, what is it? What is political terrorism? It's an act of violence to affect political change. Well, killing Malcolm X is an act of terrorism. Killing Donald Trump, if they would have succeeded, that's an act of terrorism. JFK, that's an act of terrorism. They have engaged in acts of terrorism before. In fact, it's their normal behavior. We just refuse to let ourselves believe it. This is what they do. The idea that the FBI was ever filled with like well-educated, high moral G-men was BS propaganda by their trans cross-dressing leader. It's true. Bureau was established anyway by a monarchist. Literally was Napoleon's cousin, I believe. Charles Bonaparte. Kidding me. That's the most not American name I've ever heard. Like, come up with a national law enforcement service. Let's ask this guy named Bonaparte. It's such ridiculous. My theory, it was a CIA joint FBI job. Maybe that was delegated to DHS to carry out. Maybe, because guess what? There were DHS agents, crew, on scene. Also, I am of the JFK position. Shatter and scatter to the winds. Yeah. 100%.
That's probably what got him killed.
100%. Shatter. And by the way, if people don't know what Crew's talking about here, he didn't want any of the shit.
No.
And then his brains ended up on his wife's lap.
He shortly disappeared afterwards.
He wanted it all gone. He thought it was all an abomination to a free society. And it is. Our founders didn't even want a standing army, guys. They thought that was just not possible to have a free society. Liberty is just, it does not grow. It is this in kind of an environment, a police state, military environment is not conducive to liberty. It's not. You got one of those hydrating things? I think I drank one last night too. Oh yeah, I was making I reheated something. I guess I forgot to turn it off. I was wondering why it was so hot in here. That was me. Normally I'm never the one who does that. Oh, one time with the pizza, I'm never going to live it down.
A pizza that was once the size of a huge, large pie ends up being this small. Where is it? This small. That's fine.
Caught on fire too.
It did. He could have killed us all.
I fell asleep. It's true. I don't do stupid stuff like this. I was exhausted and I did it. And I was hungry and I fell asleep and I couldn't believe I did it. And now every time I go to yell at my daughter for doing something dumb, like sometimes she'll forget and put aluminum foil in the microwave. She's like, "Oh yeah, the pizza, Dad, the pizza." I'm like, because of course it's true. All right. And I'm going to do some on locals now. This is Andrew. The FBI needs to be disbanded. I can't believe Trump either forgave the assassination attempt or felt it wasn't worth turning over those rocks. I'm not sure he knows this stuff, Andrew. Listen, I have told you guys before that the White House is a very isolating place. I don't want to get into it too much, but I can tell you, like, there were things recently said to the president, and I was like stunned to learn how he really just wasn't aware of some of this stuff.
Or
blocked from it. You know, I don't know. But this was like very basic stuff. He was being told a lot of BS, just BS. Yeah, just total malarkey. And he real, but not that, but he was open to listen, and that was very positive. Especially since it was clear that I'm trying to be careful here. You can green light it and say what you want to say, and he took it, and he's like a champ. But you could tell he just didn't know. Pompeo was telling Iowa delegates that he was going to be VP. Yep, he'd only be saying that if he knew something would happen. Yeah, that adds to the whole joint theory. Because of course Pompeo was what, guys? He was the head of the CIA. So, national security ticket with Haley and Pompeo going to war with Iran in memory of Trump. Oh, who they would have told us, Andrew, that Iran did it. They would, because they tried that before the bombing. They would have told us Iran did it, and they would have told us Iran did it, and they would have got the country and MAGA to be like, we're gonna avenge Trump. Oh my God, this is so horrible. But Andrew was so right. That is the road they were going to go down. It is. I love your breakdown of Trump's interview, especially you squeezing the advisors and sycophants who ruined us. But I disagree on the quote, not enough qualified Americans or need for foreign talent plus endless training piece. I think it's ridiculous too. Look, in that case, which is a great example of something I was just saying, Andrew, in that case, I know what the president was trying to say, but it's not even accurate. I do know what he means, but when it comes to like shipbuilding, that's actually a really good example of where what he's saying doesn't make sense. Do you think everyone knew when they converted all of the Ford factories to M1 Abrams assembly lines or whatever was the Abrams something, M1 came later, but during the Second World War, do you think all of those auto manufacturers knew how to make tanks or planes? No, they had to learn. They were taught and they had to learn. So like this is just it's terrible, foolish thing to say. I think the bottleneck is licensing and the HR definition of qualified. Yeah. At 19, I was running a chem biotech lab for the inventor of Splenda, prepping reagents, disposing biohazards, tuning 230K instruments, and scaling Grignards. No Haswoper, no Haswoper, no vendor certs, no FDA boxes checked, just a mentor who trained. That path is basically illegal now, and we are short on skills, or that path is basically illegal now. Are we short on skills or over-regulating people out of them? Both. Yeah, that's a good thing. Rich, where's the best place to send you a private message? Twitter? Yeah. Or you can send it to the support thing on Locals, which goes directly to me anyway, Ginger. All right. That is the best. That's the best thing to do. And we love you too. Not Ginger. That was everything. I just going to the next one. But we love you too, Ginger. I'm just reacting to the other comment. Seems the pressure is on. Ooh, let me click on it. November 14th, 2:43. There was something that happened, and I know some of it already leaked. I just don't know what it was. There was something that happened the other day where all these people were like, oh, you pulled them into the Situation Room over the Epstein files. That's not what I heard. I heard it was something else. Okay. I don't know what you're asking me. I'm putting this up there.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. I heard they were in there talking about something else, and it was not related to Epstein. So all those liberals were on X dancing up and down going, oh, see, we got him on the ropes because of these Epstein, that's not it. And he was just yelling at them about something. So, yeah, but I don't know for sure. I know one of the topics I was told. I just have no way to confirm it. So I don't want to say it. And it's like new news of old news. I'll say that. Something new of old news, which was never resolved, as usual. What's your opinion on the state of the Texas Senate primary? Wow, Ray Burns. That's a great example, and then great question, and then we'll wrap it up. Wesley Hunt, who I just played a clip of before, he was the one grilling Cash Patel about the request that he put into the prior to Christopher Wray, the prior director of the FBI under Biden, when it wasn't, and his requests were not answered. So when he had Cash Patel in the hot seat, he said, "Look, I didn't get answers from Wray. I'm resubmitting them now." That's Wesley Hunt. He's running. He wasn't going to run until Ken Paxton started to get baggage. Like when Ken Paxton first ran, announced he was going to run, he had a huge lead on John Cornyn, who is a rhino and needs to go. But he had a huge lead on Cornyn. And then, look, his wife, when your wife comes out publicly and does what she did, it's going to hurt you bad. So Paxton has baggage. And there are some polls that suggest while he's winning the primary or it's close, he had a huge lead at one point. He doesn't anymore. But some suggest that Paxton may have a difficult time winning a general election this year or next year. I don't know Wesley. I don't know him good enough to say he's like MAGA, like Paxton is MAGA. Paxton is MAGA, but he's also. I asked him point blank. I'm just gonna watch what I'm say, but don't let something come back like that on me. Yeah. If I mean, you want to handle it the way, first of all, that was not my suggestion. My suggestion is the American people are extremely forgiving. Let's hope your wife is. And then to just say, "Oh, it's not true. It's not true." And then your wife is out there like, "I want a divorce on X." Like, that's bad. I just don't, Paxton could have easily run away with this thing now. I haven't polled it. I have been asked if I want to poll it. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see.
Sorry.
All right. So I'm Rayburn, sooner rather than later, I may have a more specific answer on that because I really don't trust anyone else's polling other than myself. All right. All right. I got to go run and get my son, kids. All right, kids, guys. But I'll be back. I'll be back in a little bit. It's gonna be a very, very busy polling weekend, and I'm throwing a lot of questions in a lot of different places. So
and then
we'll have fun.
Monday we will be joining, quite frankly.
Oh yeah, Monday's quite frankly. If you missed the interview yesterday with Good Logic, which is Joe Neerman, we had a great conversation. It was a late stream. We didn't get done until almost like 1 o'clock, but it was a great stream. We had a really good conversation, and I haven't been on Joe's show in a while. He hadn't been on mine in a while, so it was really nice to see each other again and get to talk. So if you missed that, it's on my Twitter feed. You got to scroll down a little bit, but it's there, or you could just follow Joe at. Let me make sure because I do know he changed his thing. It is Good Logic if you look at it, but it is at the following pro. Actually, I'll put it in the chat for you guys. Some of my locals community, you guys were there. I saw you. That's always awesome. Yeah, he's awesome. Crazed. I'm glad you enjoyed it. That was a lot of fun. Had a lot of fun. And that's for you locals. This is for you, YouTube.
You passed it.
I did pass it. Whoops. Let me make sure it's not just them. That's him on X, YouTube, Getter. Here you go. Boom. And Rumble, I'll get it to you in a hot second. All right. I'm going to kick rocks. Don't forget videos to like them and share them far and wide. As always, the links below for the public polling project and everyone else. Yeah, he snuck that in, but that's all right. Are below. And we're everywhere as always, but X, Getter, Rumble, YouTube, the best place is on locals to follow us. peoplespundit.locals.com, peoplespundit.locals.com. We're drifting toward neo-feudalism with the sheer number of foreign and domestic institutions buying residential homes. How can we fix this? We need to not allow that to be the case with newer inventory. And it's fun. I was talking with Andrew Colvin about this. Charlie had a plan to do this to help young people. This could be a whole show. I mean, honestly, I would like to talk more about this, but we'd have to revamp first-time buyers for FHAs and backstop them, like VA loans allow them to assume the loan rate of a buyer if it's a existing home, but if it's because they're going to have lower interest rates, and straight up not allow hedge funds to gobble up inventory and stuff. And so these have to be, yeah, I have my own plan, which I did actually tell them, which should be between certain ages, you get these benefits, and you have to be, some things can be maybe taken as discriminatory, but I don't really care. You should get better benefits if you're married. You should get better benefits if you're working, right? And
Well, because
we-
you are supporting. It's a whole.
you
this
either
is a
be
whole-
pro family or you're not. It's a
Yeah.
whole show. It really is. Yeah. But it's one maybe we should have. All right.
Yeah, sure. Sounds like a plan.
And on Monday. All right, guys. We'll see you guys soon. And
Love you all. Have a great weekend.
keep an
Safe
eye out.
weekend.
keep an eye out for one of those car plays.
And join local because free transit. thing.
That's right, car play. Which does not sound like a porno. Later, guys. Get to see Laura sometimes.